NFL Week 14 is upon us, whether you're making the playoffs or not. This is a must-listen episode because we're going to talk. We're talking fantasy football. If you love fantasy, listen in, and we're going to give you all the optimal starts and some really guys that have really tough matchups at the sit position this week. Welcome to the show, Jim. Excited to dive in. Starts and sits NFL Week 14. Man, oh man, here we are.
Yeah. Counselor, I hope you're doing well in your in your things. I have got a critical Week 14 game this week in our Dynasty League. I need to win. I need to score a lot of points in order to advance. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck in 7th place. It's very frustrating because the team's doing really good. My team opened really bad. It opened. I think I went 1-6. I was like 1-6, and now I'm 7-6. I've racked up 6 wins in a row. Probably going to win this weekend too, but I need to win big in order to have a chance to make the playoffs in the Dynasty League. So we'll see what happens.
Wish you the best of luck, man. It's just been a wild year, and man, oh man, it's just like, look at last week, 2 tight ends like Geno Smith and Brock Bowers, 2 guys with not a high draft capital, did well last week. So, there's a lot of surprises this year, a lot of busts, a lot of guys that broke out. We were just talking before the show, like Tyreek Hill was like a 1st-round pick. He's done nothing this year. Justin Jefferson near down the stretch has done nothing. A lot of guys busted, and that's fantasy football. All these guys, CMC out for the season.
Yeah, CMC, jeez, man. You were right. You finally got it right, Counselor, with CMC.
you keep betting on black. Put the chips in. Bet on black. You know what I mean? Bet on red, whatever it is. The casino, right? You just keep betting on the same number, and eventually it's going to hit. But, man, I think there's just too many warning signs and red flags with CMC going in this year, man. Again, with the contract hangover, the Super Bowl hangover, recently got married, 2 multiple pinnacle years, his age, it was just so many things that just said, hey, man, I'm going to be cautious here. And again, I just saw a clip that keeps resurfacing now. I got to repost it, where CMC is being interviewed and someone's saying something about fantasy football. And he says, quote, F your fantasy teams. That's when I knew. That was the cherry on top. When he's telling everybody to F their fantasy teams, I'm like, CMC, I don't trust you. So, yeah, man, big time bust. So,
oh yeah, there was a news this week about James Conner. I wanted to get your opinion on it, where they gave this 29-year-old running back a 2-year extension. Obviously, not good for your guy.
Trey. I was pissed about. See, that's what annoys me, right? Like, it's the hindrance. This is such an important topic, right? Because Trey Benson, arguably the best running back out of college this past year, broken tackle percentage higher than everybody else. Great.
I don't know if I'd say he's the best, but he's looked good. He's looked good when he's gotten playing time. So,
but it's just about volume. Like, I always go back to the Kyren Williams example. Had who was it last year? Akers not got hurt. Kyren got that opportunity, he shined. But these guys are just limited. And Conner, who sucked for years, was on the Steelers, was just an average guy, never that great. Been in the league a long time. You draft Benson with high draft capital, this young dynamic player out of college, again, high percentage of broken tackles. And then I thought Conner would have been done this year. And now you sign him off for another 2 years. Some people say, well, maybe it's going to be like the Montgomery Gibbs type of thing. But dude, it doesn't make sense. It's like these guys that have talent that could be goats, right? Just based on statistical, like Gibbs, right? They're just being hindered and their ceiling is being suppressed by these old guys that are just mediocre. And it just really bothers me from a fantasy and a reality perspective, Jim. It bothers me. I'm glad you brought that up, because stuff like that really gets under my skin, honestly.
Yeah, but I got to tell you what, I think Trey Benson's going to be a major target of mine next year in the draft. He's going to be cheap. He's going to be like a guy that's available after like the 8th round, probably in the double-digit rounds is when you'll be able to get him. And I would not mind having him with James Conner and his injury history and his age in front of him. I think there's going to be an opportunity, and he'll get that opportunity. So I think Benson's a target for me for next year for sure.
Yeah, could be some good value. He'll get an uptick in production next year. A couple of things in the latest news and notes here as well. Breaking Brad here. Where are you?
We now have breaking news.
There really isn't anything other than the CMC injury. Also, I want to talk about, it was a PCL, and he's out for the season. Austin Eckler, neck concussion, dealing with that. I don't know when he'll be back. I think he's kind of placed on IR. Austin Eckler. I know how many people loved him, going last year, and I called that bust as well. what goes up must come down. Romeo Dobbs' concussion was limited in practice again. Mike Williams has not been a significant part of the offense. It's acquired from the Jets.
Yeah, has he done anything?
No, he's
I'm sorry. Did Mike Williams get traded? I didn't even see that.
yeah. He'll make us. He's plays for the Steelers, right? But apparently
Oh,
he's
okay.
done nothing. He's just
Yeah.
he's not been again. Here's the notes. Has not been a significant part of the offense since he was acquired from the Jets on November 5th. But head coach Mike Tomlin emphasized that it's a quote matter of time before Williams becomes involved. Mike Williams, another guy, just sucks. Like
Well,
it
he's just
go.
an old guy. I mean, we're talking all the guys we're talking about here are old guys. It's like that football's a young man's game. Go for the young players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for fantasy, man. But again, sometimes you have these young players, especially with running backs, that get hindered, right, from old guys that just aren't good. Exciting here for Isaac Garendo, top waiver wire 14 pickup here, is expected to take the starting role of Jordan Mason and CMC. Jordan Mason also dealing with an ankle. He'll be out, landed on IR. Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Garendo, knock, opportunities knock. And there's rumors that Frank Gore Jr., who hasn't been used on the Buffalo Bills, could be acquired by the 49ers. Kind of see, his dad was there and it could be something there. I don't know. You never know.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Frank Gore Jr., a bit of a reach. Other than that, Jim, nothing else in the news. Anything else that I'm missing here? I think that's pretty much it. There's nothing really to talk about in the news.
Yeah, I think that's about it, man. I mean, but it's another big week for bye weeks, right? We got 6 teams on bye, and some of them are pretty critical. Hold on here. I know that the Ravens are one of them, and that's huge for me because I've got tons of shares of
Baltimore,
Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers and all that.
I got it here. Baltimore, Denver, Houston, Denver, Indy, New Orleans, and Washington. So some Jaden Daniels stock there. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, all on bye. Bo Nix, if you got him in a super flex league. Anthony Richardson's going to be on bye. Houston, you got Stroud, we got Nico. So people go to the playoffs, and there's a lot of fantasy relevance on bye. Could be affecting your teams this week for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Jeez.
A lot.
That's some good teams. Why do they do that? Last week there was no teams on bye. And yet week 12 and week 14, they've loaded up six teams on bye. Why not spread that out? Do just 4 teams each of the 3 weeks. I don't know. I don't get that.
They want to screw your fantasy. Their goal is to screw your fantasy team. That's the
week 14. I don't every year the week 14 has a huge, like the 6 bye teams and all really good fantasy teams that are really relevant for fantasy. So geez.
Good
point. Let's see how it goes.
All right, guys, smash a thumbs up if you're new to the channel and drop your starts and sits questions below. So let's get right to it, Jim. I'm going to rip through. We don't spend too much time on this. I know if you're still here, we go year round. So make sure you guys are subscribed, turn on the bell. I'm also going to be announcing any breaking NFL news as well, trending topics here on this channel. So turn on that bell and smash that thumbs up. It really helps the channel. But let's go real quickly here, Jim. The optimal matchups. Again, you want to start at this point, Jim, the players that have been consistent throughout the year. Do not bench a player this week just because they have a tough matchup. I want to get that straight, because if they've been consistent for you, regardless of matchup, if they're a name, you got to start them for the most part, unless you have a better option for some reason. But Jim, real quickly here for those listening in the car as well, if you're not getting the visual here on YouTube, if you're in the YouTube, you're seeing the visual here. The green matchup is good. Will Levis, Aiden O'Connell, Cooper Rush, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, great matchup versus Carolina. Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, coming off a hot 31-point week. Baker Mayfield, Trevor Sucks Lawrence, who's banged up. I don't think he's.
Oh, he's concussed. He's not going to play.
He's done. He's out. And then Justin Herbert. So those are your optimal matchups here, Jim. Justin Herbert should have had a good week last week, just didn't. Out of these guys, I mean, if you've got a better option than Aiden O'Connell, Cooper Rush, you've got the easy matchup versus Tampa Bay and then Cincy. Do that. I don't, just because they have a good matchup, I wouldn't start them. But those are optimal matchups. Any highlights or notes on the guys I mentioned here, Jim?
No, not really. I mean, again, this is going to be a situation where you're probably really depleted with the bye week, so you're going to just have to play who you got. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of options here, and even the second tier quarterbacks with good matchups, not really excited about any of them. Like Will Levis has a good matchup, Cooper Rush of Dallas has a good matchup,
right?
Aiden O'Connell has a good matchup. I'm just not, I'm not particularly thrilled about starting those players over like your QB1. So
All right, let's go with the guys with tougher matchups on paper here. Jameis Winston coming off a big week. Hardest matchup versus position versus Pittsburgh defense. That's my team in fantasy, Pittsburgh. Brock Purdy, Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, who apparently is coming back next year. I would probably consider retiring. I heard there was a documentary on him, and he's talking to JFK, and JFK asked him if he wants to get into politics. I think that's where Aaron Rodgers should be at this point because football isn't his thing anymore. I don't know. Like, I think it's time to hang it up, Jim. What do you think? Aaron Rodgers, done.
Yeah, I don't like the politics thing either, man. Dude, just retire. I'm an analyst. Go work on Fox Sunday, and call a game. It's a great gig. You make a lot of money, and you don't have to deal with like everybody hating on you. Yeah, why would you want to get into that? That's what
I'd say
like
shut up.
politics. Even if you're really good at your job and you're really good, you work hard, you're working for the people. Half the people in your constituency are going to hate your guts.
Yeah.
Why would you want that? They just freaking hate you so much, and they'll just throw that hate out at you every day. It's like, why would anybody want that? That seems like an awful existence. So,
why divide your audience? It doesn't make sense. I mean, go do something. I'd say shut up and dribble, but he can't play football anymore. So I would even just do something. Maybe acting. Maybe acting.
No, go to NFL analyst route. It's a great gig. Either college or pro, and call games. It's a great gig. Come on, and you make a lot of money, and you're still in the football world. That's where Aaron Rodgers should be. So
yeah, I kind of like what the Mannings did a good job. They're fun, they're quirky, they do some cool stuff. They're into productions and stuff like that. So I could do what they do or something. But anyway, a couple of tough matchups here. Again, like I said, Rodgers, Goff, Jordan Love. I can't even read today. Bryce Young, Drew Lock, Kirk Cousins, man, another guy I would say. And I did a list here. I was talking in my Patreon group. If you haven't joined Patreon, guys I'll never ever draft again, even as backups. I think this is the end of the line for Kirk Cousins. Guys like Aaron Rodgers, they're phasing out, Jim. Phasing these 4 interceptions in a game. Kirk Cousins, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Right. And the ones I would be most concerned about, Jordan Love, I would not be excited about starting this week at all. Very tough matchup against Detroit. Brock Purdy's got a tough matchup against Chicago.
Yeah.
And Tua's got a tough matchup against New Jersey. I would not be excited about starting those guys, but you might be in a situation where you have to start them. So you just hope for the best.
Now, if we don't mention them, they have a mid-range matchup. So assume they have a mid-range matchup if they're not mentioned here. But a couple of bright spots for some young guys. Will Levis, if he ends up keeping his job next year. Bryce Young kind of showing up. Caleb Williams finishing top 5 mixed fantasy points past 2 weeks. Caleb Williams starting to shine here. So it's good. Like you're kind of seeing the torch being passed. The older guys phasing out, the newer guys emerging. So it's exciting to see. All right, let's move on here, Jim, to the running back position. Some usual suspects here. Obviously, you got to start Saquon Barkley. Great matchup this week.
Oh yeah, that one. Start rubbing my hands like this when I see that matchup.
That is prime, man. That's amazing. Tony Pollard, not exciting, but good matchup versus Jacksonville. We got Chase Brown, the volume vulture. He's been doing well, man. Good opportunity. Good on him. He stepped up when opportunity called. Tyrone Tracy, great matchup, 15 points last week. Kyren Williams, great matchup. We saw Blake Corum have like an season high. Well, all-time for him in the NFL. I think he had like 8 attempts or 8 rushes for 42 yards. That's a season high. So maybe we're going to start seeing a little bit more Corum. Nothing to get too excited about.
Blake was one of my big misses. I was so high on Blake. I got him in nearly every fantasy team I had this year, and he's ridden the whole season on my bench. I was really thinking that backfield was going to be like a Detroit backfield, but they just didn't utilize Corum at all. That's very, very disappointing. I'm not sure how I feel about him for next season either. If Kyren is the number one, and that's the guy you're going to want in that backfield. But
I like it. I like the Kyren. I like what they did. I like that they stuck with their guy, and that's what teams should do. Stick with the best guy, which is Kyren. Now, again, you are hindering. A Blake Corum could have been a starter on the Dallas Cowboys. Gave him 300 touches a season. He is going to shine. He's talented, right? He got it done in college, so I would assume that would translate. But it is what it is, man. But I'm glad Kyren got to go, and that's what other teams should have done. with their stud. But the thing is, it's reversed when you look at the Cardinals because the young dynamic guy is Trey Benson, the old guy. Kyron's not an old guy. He's still young and dynamic. So I like that he's still in the starting position. So kind of different scenarios, different places, right?
Right.
Swift, great matchup. I don't like him. Alvin Kamara, great matchup. You got to start him, obviously. James Cook, great matchup here, coming off a 22-point week. Breece Hall, what a bust last week, but he has a great matchup versus Miami. Breece Hall, a bit of a disappointment, certain weeks. He just doesn't do it some weeks, It's a Jets.
I think it's just the Jets.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what a mess that organization has been. They fired their head coach. Then like a couple weeks later, they fired their general manager. It's just chaos. And we had been hearing about this preseason too. I mean, I remember there was all that talk about how the locker room was just like a toxic waste dump. Aaron Rodgers didn't help either. And so it's just like it's no wonder it's been as bad as it's been for the Jets. That's just a cursed team.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's very disappointing.
If you guys are wondering about Isaac Guerrero, you want to start him. He's got a relatively easy matchup. It's like the 12th. It's kind of mid-pack, but a little bit more on the easier side versus Chicago. So he could have a good week. You never know. But
yeah, well, I mean, I just mentioned that Brock Purdy has a very bad matchup, so they might just go with the run game.
Yeah.
And focus on Guerrero. So that'd be exciting. Be exciting to see what he does. So
tougher matchups. It's going to be interesting. Is it going to be Gus with Dobbins out, Gus Edwards or Vidal? I think they're going to probably lean towards Gus near the goal line. I don't know how much Vidal is going to get there. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out, but they got a tough matchup. So you've got no Dobbins. You've got a tough matchup. They are playing KC's rush defense, a little tougher. Bijan, I mean, ROI, 29 points last week. ROI on that first overall pick for me. Great. Bijan's been the man. He's been consistent. He's been durable. He's been strong. A couple down weeks, but overall solid on the season. And you can see Algier has just taken a dip, man. 6-1 and 3 points the past 3 weeks. So now he's run with it. And I like that, Jim. I like that. It's my kind of style here.
Yeah, they kept putting they just kept putting Algier out there on the goal line. I'm like, and he would never get in. Why do you keep doing that? I think they finally figured it out.
Well, I think it was that week. Last week, was it, or a couple weeks ago, where he got stuffed at the goal line 3 times in a row, and Bijan came in and stuffed it in got it in on the first time. And I think they realized, like, what are we doing? Like, why are we running this idiot, this bottom feeder at the goal line? It didn't make sense. And I think now he lost his job, and that was the best 3 stuff I've ever seen. 3 stuff.
Yeah, the problem right now though is that he's stuck on the Falcons, which obviously Kirk Cousins is having all his issues lately. So
that's what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think they got to trot Penix out there and just see what he could do.
Yeah, give him a chance, get him warmed up for next season, because Cousins is not the long-term solution by any means.
But they did sign Cousins to like a 3-year deal, so Cousins is going to be back next year.
True. I don't know why they did that. Like, I don't get some of these things, why they do some of the things that they do. Like, can't you see that the talent is going away? It's dwindling, it's going down. Like Aaron Jones. Like, why would you take Minnesota? Why are you? Aaron Jones is washed up. He's done okay this year, but I think he fumbled last week. It's like he's old. Like, let it go. Even CMC making him like a highest paid running back when we know he's coming off 2 pinnacle years at the tail end of his career. You got young talent like Jordan Mason. You draft Isaac Guerrero. Run with some of these young guys, man. You save some money. Go do something. Go feed a small village. Don't waste it on these old people. Again, it just things like this piss me off. It is what it is.
There's no telling what's going on in those in those internal meetings about paying the players, because they do make some. I mean, look at Daniel Jones. They paid him $45 million a year 2 seasons ago, and they just cut him. Get out of here. We don't even want you anymore.
It's such
we still owe you $70 million. We'll pay that, but get out of the locker room. And why'd they even give him the money in the first place? He was a terrible quarterback. Everybody knew it.
I hate seeing money burned on useless things. And I remember the quick story here. I remember this started back when I really started to take notice of this back when I started into fantasy, when Carson Wentz got paid $128 million. I'm like, dude, don't pay Carson Wentz. The guy's a bomb. Don't do it. And I did that post, and Eagle fans were ripping into me. He's like, Carson's our future, blah, blah. How'd that work out for you? So I'm able to see this when teams are not able to see that. It doesn't make any sense how a guy like me and you, who are fantasy analysts, maybe because we study this more than them probably, but we see the decline of talent, right? Yet they still end up forking out 100. Give us $1 million each, and we'll save you the 126 million on Carson Wentz, right? Like, we'll tell you not to pay him, right? So
Right.
I don't exactly. Anyway, so guys have tougher matchups here real quick. Like I said, Gus Edwards, you got Josh Jacobs, you got Chuba Hubbard, tougher matchup versus Philly. Pacheco, I don't know if he's going to be back in the mix now. I don't know.
Well, he is back in the mix, but he's still coming back from that injury. So I don't know if he's going to get the full load. And it's still going to be a split with Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones here, tough matchup versus Bishop, only 11 points last week. Like I was saying, like Aaron Jones, man, like 24 the week before, then 5 the week, a little bit up and down. Najee Harris coming off a good week. He's playing like his career depends on it because I think he's looking for a payday, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, his contract ends at the end of this season, so he's going to be a free agent. So he's playing like it. So
yeah, he has to. Yeah. Devin Achane, consistent 21 points the past 3 weeks. Solid. Relatively tough matchup. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, obviously you got to start them. And this mid-range matchup, guys, as you can see here. Bucky Irving, I mean, you got to start him. There's an injury here. I think he's still good. 31 points last week. Bucky Irving, there's a heart here, which means he's dealing with something. Maybe he was limited in practice or something like that. But check that out.
Heard about that. But Irving has been freaking fantastic this year, man. Jeez. That's the breakout running back, in my opinion, is Irving.
Yeah.
And what a deal he was on the draft board. I wish I had gotten more shares of him. But him and Tyrone Tracy, those are the two running backs that did it this year. You know, those were the two rookies that really came out and did something. And I didn't get any Tyrone Tracy, and I only got Bucky Irving in like one team because I was all focused on Blake Corum and Trey Benson, and none of those guys did anything. But these two guys that were available super late, got him so cheap. What a deal! So,
And we should have saw that. We did see most. I knew that. I just didn't think that
they were both recommendations.
They were, but we didn't get enough stock of them. And the thing is, I knew the guys in front of them sucked. Like Suckle-Terry's garbage, like trash. So I should have just got, but I didn't think. I don't know, man. I don't know. It is what it is. It's gone. But I wish I had more Tracy stock. I had more, but I saw Bucky Irving. He was a sleeper of mine, but I should have got more stock of him because I knew Rachaad White sucked. But I still thought they would have gave Rachaad White more the volume. And they did at the beginning of the season. And eventually his sucking just shined, So we're like, okay, we got to move on from him. All right, wide receivers. Let's rip through it here. Drake London, good matchup. All right, guys, want to take a quick break here. Tell you to head over to mybookie.ag. This is a site I use and I trust. Now, this is the last week, guys. Up until Sunday is your last chance to enter in and get a deposit and double that first deposit, okay? Because this promo is going away. And I'm telling you guys, get in mybookie.ag. That's the site I use. They'll double your first deposit up to $1,000. Use code FFC upon sign up and get in on the action. I know fantasy football is fading for a lot of people, or you may have missed the playoffs. You can still get into the action with mybookie.ag. Head over there right now. Use code FFC. Dive in right now. Go create an account, put in a deposit. They'll double it up to $1,000. Mybookie.ag, code FFC. Get in right now. Versus position coming, bounce back week. Ridley. And I was pissed last week because I had Ridley started, only 7 points, but they kept feeding Nick Westbrook-Ikhine or whatever his name is.
Yeah, they did. And that has been extraordinarily frustrating when it comes to, I don't know what's going on. He just
came out of nowhere.
He's like, Ridley just hasn't been able to, since he's come back into the league, he just hasn't been able to establish a good connection with his quarterback. That's the problem, right? Yep. And he had a problem with having a connection with Trevor Lawrence, and now he's having a problem with Will Levis. I don't know, man. It's really disappointing, man. I thought he was like one of those sleeper wide receivers who's going to just totally blow up this year, and he has not been good. So
yeah, he's so fast and so talented, but like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
George Pickens, 16 points last week. Decent matchup. These are all the guys' good matchups. Jefferson, good matchup this week against Atlanta. We've got Malik Neighbors, good matchup versus the Saints. Just so take a look here, guys. You can see some of these guys' good matchups. I think Keon Coleman should be returning. What a bottom feeder. This is supposed to be my guy, And he was supposed to play last week, but then last minute they said, "Oh, he's got a wrist injury." Like, screw off, man. I don't know. And then Amari Cooper, all those people that thought, "Oh, I got Amari Cooper's gonna do amazing." I'm like, no, he's not. And he's been sucking. He's garbage, trash. Look at this: 4 points, 8 points, 0 points. I think he was hurt the week. Like, just sucks, Jim. Everybody was like, "Yeah, man, Amari Cooper." I'm like, dude, the guy played for Oakland Raiders. Oakland Raiders, Jim. That's how old he
He
is.
was good on the Oakland Raiders. He played well. I mean, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, clearly he comes in mid-season. He's playing with a great quarterback though, right? So you're thinking like Josh Allen's going to feed him the ball. He misses Stephon Diggs. He needs a new wide receiver one, and it just hasn't been that. It hasn't been that at all. So that's, it's very disappointing season for Amari, but I didn't really get any shares of him because I didn't want him because he was paired with, what's his face in Cleveland? Watson.
Watson.
I was like, Watson is hot garbage. I don't want anything to do with him. And so I clearly don't want any of his receivers. And, but even the team change hasn't helped. So
yeah. Romeo Dobbs concussion problem. Jaden Reed, great position to start here. He's kind of emerged as the one at this point, but what a disaster they've been going to tight ends, mixing it around. Like, there's no, he's not getting wide receiver one volume though. Look at 6 points.
He's not, but he's been super efficient and he's been good for fantasy. I mean, he busts out those big plays, and even if he's not getting the kind of volume I want him to get, he's been good. He's been good for fantasy. And
down games though. CeeDee Lamb, what a bust last week, 6 points. Again, he doesn't have his quarterback, right? No Dak, he's going to suffer. Right. But I mean, you got to start him. You paid a first-round pick. Jamar Chase, obviously a must start here. Ladd McConkey, 24 points last week. Don't be a donkey. Draft flag McConkey. He's been paying off. Guys that have it in tough here, real quick. Devontae Adams, tough matchup coming off an 18-point week. Puka Nacua. I mean, you still got to start these guys if you have them. 17 points. Does have it in tough versus Buffalo. Does Puka. Tyreek Hill, 20 points last week. Kind of back into a bit of a groove, but it seems like Geno Smith is getting a lot of that volume. But tough matchup versus Tyreek. You got Juwan Jennings, 9 points last week. Tough matchup. Debo's been absolutely sucking. Adam Thielen, 24 points last time he came out. Tough match, fifth hardest versus position. Brian Thomas Jr., 19-point week. Coming off sixth hardest matchup versus position here. DJ Moore coming off a hot week, seventh hardest. So these are all the guys, tough matchup. Amon-Ra, but you're not going to sit some of these guys. Judy, Jim, this is the guy you hate more than anybody at wide receiver.
I do hate him more than anybody, man. I mean, yeah. Okay, so he's got a really good connection with Jameis Winston. How good is that going to be for you for next season? Are you going to trust him? No. I mean, again, he's still in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He's not good. It probably Deshaun Watson's going to be back because they're going to pay him anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got zero faith in that player. Yes, he has been very good, but I don't know. Yeah. Judy sucks. He just sucks. He's terrible. Quentin Johnson's the same way, man. He sucks. He's terrible. Why do they keep throwing him the ball? I don't get it. But,
I don't have it either. All right, so that's wide receivers there for you. Let's move on here to the tight ends, and we'll give you the optimal defense. We'll do tight end defenses kind of one shot here. So tight ends here, start your safest tight ends. I don't know if Jake Ferguson's back, but he's got a good matchup. I haven't looked at his injury status here. If he's got a little heart there.
I think he's been playing, and they do have him set up that he is going to go this week, but that could change, right? So you got to monitor that. I think I had to put him into one of my lineups because I needed to because of the bye week. So anyway, hopefully he does play.
Goddard, good matchup. I see a heart there. Maybe he's dealing with an ailment. Cade Otton. I mean, he had some big games, then he's just kind of gotten cold the past couple weeks. I don't know what's going on.
That's how Cade Otton has been since he came into this league. You know, he has his blow up weeks, and then he just doesn't do anything, and he hasn't been consistent. It's kind of a frustrating situation if you have. I think Cade Otton is strictly a best ball kind of player. He's a guy you want in best ball because he will have his blow up weeks, and you'll get the points on those blow up weeks, and then he'll just sit on your bench otherwise. But that's a tough. But it is a good matchup. He's got a good matchup. So
Disley's ice cold there, sucking. Okonkwo, from Tennessee versus Jacksonville. Had 6 points last time out. Brock Bowers, man, oh man, what's his? I wonder, like, what is ADP? Let's kind of guess what his ADP will be next year. I think Brock Bowers is going to be an end of first round, early second pick next year. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be quite that high, but I do see a second or third round pick for him. I see that the tight ends are kind of like we saw this past year. They kind of fell down the draft board a bit, but yeah, I think he's definitely going to be the number one tight end coming off the board.
Yeah.
So we'll see that. But again, Sam Laporta was the best tight end in the league last season, and he has really done nothing this year. He's been a complete afterthought. That's what I'd be most concerned about. You figure that Vegas is probably going to draft a quarterback. They're probably going to have a rookie playing, or maybe they'll just stick with Aiden O'Connell. I don't know. I think a definite regression risk there, and therefore I think he'd be too expensive, and I'd just rather avoid that.
And what a bust Kincaid has been. By the way, these guys good matchups. Laporta, Kincaid, Bowers, all good matchups. But Kincaid, I mean, I was telling everybody they've got Dawson Knox there, they've got Coleman, they've got other options. I don't know. Everybody kind of inflated Kincaid. I'm like, I'm not sold on Kincaid. He was a third round pick, man. I was like, no, I'm not. I think he was high up there. I think third or fourth, wasn't he?
He was like a top 3, top 4 tight end coming off the board. And yeah, I felt he was being extremely overdrafted. He really didn't do anything last season in 2023. Everybody had such high hopes. He didn't do anything great. He was okay at best. And then he was going as a top 3 tight end this past year. I just felt he was being overdrafted. I have 0 shares of Kincaid across all my teams. So I'm glad I avoided that.
He's been sucking. Conklin, good matchup, and then Kittle, decent matchup, but again, coming off a bad week. Guys that have it in tough here at tight end, Tucker Kraft, tough matchup coming off some consistent weeks here. Still could be viable if you need a tight end. Kelsey's been safe, third hardest matchup for his position. Just take a look here. Geno Smith coming out.
Jonnu Smith, has a tough matchup also. I don't know how you can sit him, though. He's just been on fire, man.
You gotta start him. And I think he's fool's gold. I think he's one of those guys that his ADP is going to be copied and pasted. He's just going to do nothing next year. I just feel it'll be one of those things.
We'll see how he does. I mean, he obviously has a really good connection with Tua, and so if he stays on Miami next year, I think he'd probably be a decent choice. But I don't think he's going to be like a top 6, top 10 tight end. He'll be in those middle ranges still. I think
he's been consistent the past 3 weeks, man. Cole Kmet, tough matchup. Pat Frymuth coming off a big week, 19 points, has a tough matchup here, and I think that's it, man. Parkinson, he's been sucking, but all these guys tough matchups.
And, Evan Ingram, Ingram has a tough matchup too. That's another one that's. Probably.
And Kyle Pitts, another thing, 0 points last week, 2 points. He sucks. Like, again, you could blame the court. I'm done. No more excuses for Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is done, right? Do you agree that we'll never, ever look at Kyle Pitts again? He'll never live up to the hype. He's done. This is it. He'll be the Jerry Jeudy at tight ends. He's done.
I mean, again, it's just a guy. He's always been overdrafted. He was overdrafted this past year. He might be a bargain next year. I don't know. I got to see where he's going to end up on the draft board. But if he's a guy that you can get in the double-digit rounds, especially for best ball, I'll take a shot on him.
Never. But, he's done. He's done. He'll never amount to anything.
Yeah, I mean, he really is. We know who he is as a player. He's been in the league for like 4 years now.
Yeah, something like that, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go here. Defenses here. The optimal defenses to start based on position. Jacksonville versus Tennessee. I'll rhyme this off here, and Jimmy, you can comment. Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. Great matchup. Saints versus the Giants. Love that matchup. Tampa Bay versus Vegas. Cardinals versus Seattle. Jets versus Miami. Not so crazy on that one, but Bengals versus Dallas could be good. Falcons versus Minnesota. Vikings versus Atlanta. Any ones that we're missing here, Jim, or do you oppose any of these ones? This is based on paper, right?
Yeah, and I think those are all pretty good choices. Yeah, I'm cool with those. Yeah, I can't complain. Who are the bad matchups though? I mean, that's the ones you want to avoid.
Rams versus Buffalo got in tough. Packers versus Detroit. You don't want to start the Packers defense. Detroit's been good. And then Lions versus Green Bay as well. Panthers versus Philly.
Yeah, don't start that.
Don't start the Panthers versus
Cincinnati too. Doesn't matter what the matchup is. Don't play the Cincinnati defense. Oh God, they have been putrid this year.
Yeah, well, Cincinnati, they're playing Dallas. It is a favorable matchup this week, though, Cincy.
I don't know. I don't know if I even trust that. They allowed the Steelers to score like 40 points. Russell Wilson had 400 yards passing. That's crazy, man. That's crazy bad. And so even if it's a good matchup for Cincinnati, I don't think I'd play them.
This should be called the Cincinnati Kittens, not the Bengals.
That defense. I mean, the thing is, they've got a great offense, but that defense can't stop anybody, and so they're just getting outscored. This great offense is getting outscored each week. It's crazy.
Every time I see a defense like that, I want to get you suited up. I want to get you suited up at running tailback, and I want you to run through that defense. I think
I am okay with not doing that.
But it looks like you got a Steelers shirt on there. I got to see the black and yellow there.
Yeah, I got my Steelers Nation shirt on today. Yeah,
looks like you're ready to go. Just put on a helmet and away you go. Some knee pads.
Sure. Easy peasy, right? Well, I don't think so, man. There's a bunch of 20 somethings out there. They would annihilate me. I would get annihilated.
But Jim, we'll make sure you have knee pads, elbow pads, and we'll make sure you have a guardian cap as well, just for extra protection.
I think you'd have to put me in one of those sumo wrestler suits, the ones with the padding everywhere. But I think I'd be okay.
We'll bubble wrap you and throw you in there.
There you go.
All right, man. We'll have to we'll get you an Iron Man suit, even better, so you can just kind of fly over everybody.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
I'll do that. All right, man.
That'd be fun.
There you go. NFL Week 14 starts, and I still think they'd pummel you, even with an Iron Man suit, by the way. But yeah,
I don't know, because they'd be tackling metal. I mean, that would hurt. When you're running into something covered in metal, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, so. but Jim, if you shake noodles in a can, the noodles still could get damaged inside, right?
Oh, that's true. It'd be like a pickle in the pickle jar inside that thing. Yeah.
All right, the analogy's gone crazy now. All right, Jim. No, we won't get you on the field. No, it's hazardous to your health. No. Just like Tua. No. All right.
That's right. Exactly. It is past by time to be playing any sort of football, so I'm fine with that. I will watch these young players do what they can do, because I can't. So that's fine.
Well, that's why you guys got to stay till the end, so you can have these entertainment gym conversations at the end. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. NFL Week 14 fantasy football. I can't wait till the season's over, because then I want to focus on playoffs and then move into 2025, because I need a bit of a break, because we've been going hard since like May. And it's like, I just want to be like, shut it down for Christmas and New Year's, and then, move on to next year.
Right. Yeah. So, we're almost done though. This is the last week. Then it's playoffs. So yeah.
Well, we go year round
after this.
Make sure you guys subscribe. We do go year round. That's it, Jim. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Counselor.
We'll talk soon, guys.
Wish me luck this weekend, everybody. I need points. I need points, and I need a victory to sneak in the Dynasty League. I need it.
Let's go, Jim.
I deserve it.
Let's go. All right, guys. We're out. We'll talk soon. Have yourself a great week.